Welcome to the ProBrick exclusive YouTube channel. You're with Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, share, comment on the video at the end, if you will. Let's see what's going on, guys.
I told you guys I would stay accountable. I told Kyle I would tell him if this ever happened. I'm a little bit embarrassed. I'm upset. I did cheat.
What?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. It just happened. I was trying to control myself, and I took the jelly beans out of the counter and ate the whole bag.
You couldn't have started with that?
I told you guys.
So she's taken the jelly beans. Well, that was a bit of a funny one, wasn't it, guys? Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Share the video if you enjoy it, guys. Let's see what's going on next.
I've cheated on my husband over 20 times and I don't bother hiding it because I secretly hate him. Disclaimer is not my story time.
And just realize, guys, there are ladies out there that do secretly hate their husbands. I've met women that have been married and the husband said something to them cruel, pissed her on drugs, or she's caused an argument or something, and never ever forgiven him for it. Carried it right throughout the marriage. And he's never ever known how despised he's been. And guys, our scripture for today is Proverbs chapter 12, verse 18. Some people make cutting remarks, but the words of the wise bring healing. Some people make cutting remarks, but the words of the wise bring healing.
After realizing that I was living with a man-child who made me do everything for him, who cried all the time, who was always so sensitive and always needed something, and complained.
This happens a lot. We are guilty of this, men, not being mature enough to play our part in the marriage or the relationship. There also is a part that you can play that is too much. It has to be balanced. You have to have them as both them accountable and yourself. I think if you share the duties and everything, it's a more harmonious relationship. But at the same time, if there's things that need to be talked about, if there's things that need to be resolved, bring them to the table. And hopefully there'll be a result for everyone. But if there's not, unfortunately, this is where it's going to end up anyway.
24/7. I decided to start cheating. A few years ago, I had met a guy through a coworker. I always followed each other.
Now, cheating isn't the answer to anything. Nobody likes a cheat. Once a cheater, always a cheater, so they say. Probably not in every case, but in the majority, because cheating becomes the way of personally resolving the resentment that they build up with people that they're with because they don't know how to resolve. A lot of them haven't got the courage to speak up and bring the problem to the table. A lot of women just will not resolve issues, and of course this is how they end up. That's why they're so dangerous. If you're with somebody, man or woman, that doesn't bring resolve, that doesn't want to seek resolve, you better be frightened, because they will go into an episode of cheating because the pressure of the unresolved will build up on them.
On Instagram, and I knew that he was attracted to me, and he's pretty hot and rich and good looking.
Just remember, guys, just let me say, Instagram is a dating site. You've got to understand that Instagram is a dating site. It's not just a place where people put their pictures. It's actually a dating site, guys. Some people make cutting remarks, but the words of the wise bring healing. This woman's really jamming it into whoever this bloke was.
He was attracted to me, and he's pretty hot and rich and good looking. So I decided to reach out on Instagram and asked him if he wanted to go out. Not only did
I don't know how true that is, because a lot of women, I've had a few reach out over my time, but very few. You usually have to make the approach and close the deal. But this woman reckons she reached out. That's really ballsy. That's really scary. Man, that is scary stuff.
He say yes. He planned a whole outing. We went hiking and we went to get massages. Then he took me out to dinner. And then we went to his place and had amazing sex. I would see...
Guys, I don't know how true this is, but it does happen. Happens a lot. And unfortunately, if they can get away with it, they don't tell their husbands. They go into this place of having your cake and eat it too, which isn't a real good place to be, because you do get caught eventually. And I hope ladies aren't watching this and being encouraged by the message this is sending, because it's not the answer. The answer is to resolve the issues. Resolve the issues. Some people make cutting remarks, but the words of the wise bring healing. Resolve the issues. Okay, don't just get venomous and beat around the bush and dodge the truth or dodge the reality of what needs to be fixed. Wise words bring healing, and sometimes it takes a hell of a lot of courage to bring something to the surface and just get it out and get it fixed. People aren't doing this anymore. They're sitting silent, they're dodging the issue, and they're ending up like this person here. They're just dolling themselves up and throwing themselves to the wolves. You don't know how many issues the person's got that can just come along and give you the sense that they're cleaning up the mess of the person that you got the issue with. There's only one way you can clean up the mess of an unresolved issue, and that's to bring it to the table. Some people make cutting remarks, but the words of the wise bring healing.
This guy about 3 times a week. Then I started hooking up with another guy that I met at the gym. This guy was really hot, but he didn't.
So this message, okay, it might have an element of, I don't know, of freedom and liberty. This is what they're sending out to each other. But it ends up back where they start. They end up just going round on a carousel, trying to fix unresolved, which you can't fix unless you see the issues that you don't deal with, you take with you. I'm going to say that again. The issues in any relationship, at work or anywhere, that you don't deal with, you take with you, and they bog down on your conscience. Now, you might not sense that at the time, but they bog down on your conscience, and eventually this carousel ride with all different men and all different penises and whatever they do with themselves, that turns on them as well. And they end up on their own, full of bitterness and resentment and deceit, because they never found their way to bringing healing. Because wise words of resolve bring healing, but cutting remarks, right, are no good. They don't bring healing. And cutting remarks, when you think about it, are just foolish words. They're beating around the bush. They're not fixing anything.
Have a lot of money, so we never really went out. It was just plain sex, but it was good. About 6 months later, I met another guy. Again, amazing sex. Do you think my husband noticed anything? No. I would talk to these guys on the phone while my...
Guys, I'll just tell you something. I've never had a person who I haven't had amazing sex with. It's just how it is, okay? Don't feel like you're missing out on something. Don't feel like something's happening that you haven't experienced. It's not. It's not. Each individual person is an experience of themselves, but each individual person is going to give amazing sex. That's my experience. You might argue that. I guess everybody's different, but that's my experience. Some people make cutting remarks. Some people make words that wound, but the words of the wise bring healing. And I guess if you've gotten to the point where you've tried to bring healing and you've just ended up doing your block and losing your temper or whatever, put it behind you. But you've got to realise those words, they leave cuts. And unfortunately, that's what will happen when people don't want to resolve. There's going to be an argument, there's going to be cutting words, and it doesn't matter how many words before that you've tried that are wise and tried to heal. People are just going to get cut up when there's unresolved.
My husband was in the same room. I would be setting up dates with these guys in the same room as my husband.
And this is what they'll do. The answer's always in the phone. Keep an eye on that, guys. If you've got a cheating, deceitful woman, just kick her straight to the curb. And the first sign of this is unresolved. If they're not willing to resolve anything, if they're combative, even if they're too silent, guys, you've got to read between the lines, because you don't want to get caught up in a situation where you've got a harlot under your umbrella, under your masculinity. Man, you don't want that. That's not what this is about. There's good women out there that want to stand by you and stick by you and stand up for you. Man, if your woman's not standing up for you, kick her to the curb. It's going to lead to trouble, guys.
You think he cared? No. I would even wear sexy outfits to
Now, this is just a role play by the look of it. And, but this happens a lot. It's really simpy. She's talking about men that just don't care and they're just letting the girl do whatever they want. Sometimes they're just not reading the woman. They're just not reading how upset and bitter she is with the guy, and he's just going along with everything. And she's just getting banged and ran through. Really, she should just leave and do whatever she likes. But they hang around.
Out with them, and he never asked anything. He would just say, have fun, and then he would call me to complain about what he was feeling and what he wanted me to buy. Am I terrible for doing this? I've cheated on my husband.
Now, guys, just let me say that looks are only skin deep. You've got to realise this. Looks are only skin deep. And actions speak louder than words. Okay? It's the actions speak louder than words every time. Guys, that's all there is to it. And you have to realise this. Let's see what else we got. I think sometimes as women get older, they get in with the wrong crowd and they're easily led. I don't know what this... guys, I don't rehearse these. I just get them up as I go. Cutting remarks really wound people. They're words of fools, but the words of the wise bring healing. And I just want to say, you can sense things are wrong sometimes and you're trying to sort stuff out with your girl, but she's just not going to do anything, or you're not just going to do anything. Guys, be careful because it doesn't end well.
I cheated on my husband 3 months ago and I need advice. And I can assure you I've said every nasty thing to myself that a person could say. 3 months ago I went on a business trip, and for the first night I went out with my colleagues for a drink.
And just let me say, guys, 80% of cheating happens in the workplace. Guaranteed there'll be some bloke come along. They're full of resentment. They haven't dealt with anything. It's built up on them. The next thing, just some person that's made no effort to do anything, they're just banging them. It's really ridiculous, guys. It's really horrible. And gosh, man, the guy must have been desperate. I'm not being rude, but this ain't good.
There was a man flirting with me. My husband has always been loving and supportive. He's handsome and incredibly great looking and in great shape. I don't know why I felt so gratified by...
But this is the mentality of these people. She's obviously got personal issues herself, and now the husband's going to get the back end of it. That's not fair, guys. That's really not fair.
This random guy, but I did. After too many drinks, I went to his apartment and we had sex. Afterwards, I realized what I had done, and I cut my trip short and went home. I immediately confessed...
Too late. The damage is done. Let's see what happens.
...to my husband, and I told him everything. And I offered to answer all of his questions. He just said he needed to go for a walk, and when he came back, he asked me if I liked it. So this is part 1. Come back for part 2 for the rest of the story and for advice.
Guys, I don't think we'll go to part 2. I think she is a cheat. I got no respect for these people that cheat. And why would you have? It's not anything that I think anybody should do. She said she had a good husband. She said he was doing all the right things. He was fit, healthy, and all the rest. But I'd love to know what resentment she had built up in her heart. Guys, some people make cutting remarks. Can you imagine your wife coming home and telling you I've cheated? You know, you probably put fucking 10 or 15 years into her, and I shouldn't swear, but I've been on the end of this. It's ridiculous. And they end up damaged. My first wife was here cleaning the property today, and the poor bugger, she's as damaged as you can get. She ended up on her own, and this is what they don't tell you in the back end of everything. Once you fall off the carousel into the dust and all the rest of it, they end up alone. They're damaged, and it's very, very sad because it shouldn't be that way. But people don't realise where all this ends up. It just ends up in broken hearts, broken families, loneliness, value back to zero, if not deficit. And that's why you try and bring healing words, but if they don't want to listen, it's going to end up in cutting remarks, isn't it? Because It's hard when you're wise and you're trying to deal with people that just don't want to fix things that can be fixed. But guys, that's the end of tonight's video. We'll wrap it up there. If you haven't already, like, share and subscribe. Leave your comments. They really help us out heaps here at Probe Ricky Exclusive. I'm Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, on the Probe Ricky Exclusive YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next one.